Nope. I could just, like, get in trouble. Alright, so fresh, like, start of the video. If you are at home sick, I'll show you the homework in just a second. These are the results of not your class, because I don't want to show you your class. That's kind of rude. This is the results of the afternoon class. Notice how many masteries there are? Ah, well, that failed. So there were 3 masteries. Now, all that could tell you is, like, who in your class should you go get help from? But there are 3 masteries. Now, there are, like, 3 or 4 see me for masteries, which is, like, really quick. You made some minor mistakes. There are finish for mastery. So, like, right now, as you're going, it looks like if you finish it well, you'll get a mastery. And then there are some grades just need to finish. I can't really judge your grade based off that. And some of those on your paper, I marked NF/P to kind of give you the indication of, like, hey, you've made some mistakes. But there are not a lot of masteries. So when I hand your test back, realize masteries are not just given out like, okay, you did okay. Mastery means you mastered it. If you are still making small mistakes, it doesn't mean like, oh man, you suck. Oh my gosh. Like, no, it means you need to adjust a little bit. You need to get a little bit better. You might be this far from it. You might be this far from it. But you used to be this far from it. Right? So like you're getting there. You're progressing. You are working your way to where you need to be to show that mastery, but you're just not quite there yet. So in getting used to how Phoenix grades, you need to be comfortable with the fact that mastery is a hard grade to get.
Like right away?
Yeah, it's hard to get a mastery the first time. Okay. Like, now, that said, if you did all your homework and you really, like, if you worked carefully, the biggest mistake, or the biggest issue that most 7th and 8th graders have in math is, like, simple mistakes or not taking their time. I am focused mainly right now on process, because if we get those processes in place, like, really well right now, then later those, like, really hard problems will be easier. So if you notice, most of the work I give you right now is, like, whole numbers. It's not decimals and not a lot of fractions. Like, we're finding area. I'm giving you whole numbers. Because I want to see, do you know how to apply the formula? Not, can you multiply with tricky decimals and things like that. So, the homework. These 4 assignments are due today, but that means whenever today. So, you could turn them in at AO. You could turn them in at extension. I probably won't even look at them tonight because I have enough going on that I'm pretty busy. So you might luck out if you turn them in tomorrow. I might not have collected them out of the bin. But once I collect them out of the bin, we're going to start marking your timeliness marks. So if it's due today and you don't turn it in today, it's late. Doesn't mean it was a bad quality work, but it was late. So in MAP, I'll be marking those timeliness marks. So please, at some point today, get those 4 assignments turned in. I had a couple people saying that they had questions from either the 221 or the 222 homework. So from 221, one question, Aiden, I'm not, oh, the 36, use the box, use the rectangle.
Yeah, it was 36.
So in 36, I'm going to switch toggle screens real quick. Yeah, I'm failing at that. I'm going to pause the video. Bring those to class, and like, especially if you come up to me before class and say, hey, can we go over that? But if it gets old, if it's like 3 or 4 days old, I probably won't do it with the whole class because a lot of your classmates don't need it if they've already done it.
I remember these. Yeah.
So these you should have been introduced to in 6th grade, and if you weren't, it's okay. It's not necessarily your fault. But this is my honest... This is the broken one. By the way, sorry, I just looked at this. Yeah, my brain jumps around a lot. I've set these out here. Now, part of this is I trust you guys. Please don't take these and don't bring them back. I need to get more graph paper down here. But these are some awesome templates for while you're doing your homework. If you want to be able to draw a perfect circle or perfect hexagon, septagon, octagon, like a bunch of awesome templates. So, hey, these got to stay here. I only have a classroom set worth. But if you want these where like AO, extensions, whatever, you can borrow those. And I need to get more graph paper out, but always just graph paper there and back there, and I'll get some more packs, different places. This is really my favorite way to multiply numbers. It's a bit of an organizer that you don't have to use once you get good at it, but this is to break up 2-digit multiplication and make it real easy. Hang on just a second. So 5 times 3. Forget about the zeros. What's 5 times 3? 15. Then we put the zeros on.
I already got this one.
Okay, so, but I'm just reviewing the skill. So 4 times 3, 12, you put the 0 on. So we keep going through that process, and then later we can actually, this is a manipulation of FOIL multiplication, which kind of means first, outside, inside, last. If you guys have any siblings in high school, they might be working on stuff like that. Yeah, FOIL multiplication, you can ask them about it. Now, hold up. These numbers are a bit trickier to multiply. Well, it depends on what multiplication facts you memorize. What's 9 times 7? 63. Then put the zeros on 6,300. 1 times 70, well, okay. 9 times 8. Guys, in case you forget the nines trick and the finger thing, that's kind of whatever. If you do that, that's fine. But with nines, multiply by 10 and then bring it back by 1 of whatever. So like 8 times 9, do 8 times 10 and then take 8 away. So it's 80 minus 8, 72. Put the 0 back on. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different ways to do the nines. Then we add all these up. So if you want to make your life easy, write them out. You can even stack it then off to the side if you like adding with the stacked digits. 7,098, I believe.
Yep.
What else? Yeah.
Oh, maybe a little far back, but I never understood. Like, me and my mom went through it a lot.
Get to it. Come on.
But 2-10 was when they did the circle and they split it all.
We're going to need to talk. Is anyone else having issues with 2-10? Otherwise, that's kind of far back for us to talk
With
about.
the circle,
Yeah, we did the circle.
Yeah?
Yeah.
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 That thing's hard.
So why haven't you guys asked me about this yet?
Because I was scared. I was
This is just like a question on the test. You might not recognize that it's just like a question on the test. This says Mario ordered pizza for dinner. It arrived. He ate an eighth of it, which a lot of pizzas are cut into eighths. And then his pet poodle ate a third while he was in the bathroom or whatever else, getting drinks and napkins.
Oh,
So, cheat. Use a template or something. Make your circle.
How did you make it? But it has a bunch of little pieces.
So, if I imagine what happened, I'm not actually making 8 pieces or 3 pieces. I'm just approximately drawing these things. My dog ate, or sorry, not my dog. Mario, nah, that's a bit to the right. Probably should actually be there. 8 an eighth. So here's 1/8. Mario ate. I don't really need this line, and I didn't really need that line. What that really is 1 pizza minus an eighth, right? Then the dog comes along, and if I try to approximate a third, I'm going to work over here because I know that that would be a half. So a third is less than that. Yeah, something like that. Third for the dog.
Jeez.
Not 4, but he ate it. Right? Now, this now in my picture looks like a half. That doesn't mean it's a half. That means my picture's kind of goofy. But the dog ate a third. Now, if I look at what's going on, I can make 1 a fraction by making it over 1. Any number can be made a fraction by putting it over 1. I now need what before I add or subtract? Common denominators. So we grab the denominators we have and make that decision. So with 8 and 3, I'm just going to easily jump to 24. There might be another one smaller, but you can always multiply them with each other. So times 3 times 8. And this, of course, 24, right? So 24 24ths. Now we could imagine the pizza cut into 24 slices. Mario ate 3 of them. Sorry, not 3/8, 3 24ths now. So if I really want to draw this, there's Mario's 3 slices. The dog ate 8 24ths if I really want to draw this. But it's not a very good drawing. It's okay. Some of your drawings can be like, because it doesn't actually say that the drawing matters. It just says draw a model, right? Let's set it up so you can visualize it. So altogether, Mario and his dog ate how many slices? 11. How many slices are left? 13, right? So it's close to half.
We still got the answer, but I didn't understand that.
Does it make more sense now? Ethan.
I was confused on 2x39.
39. I think that's in this one.
I was really stressing about that.
Ah, especially D. Yeah, D was tricky on this one.
D was so hard.
So, guys, this is the same strategy that some of us still struggled on with the, on the mastery. Now, in the mastery, things broke up into easier numbers. Notice, we're now in chapter 2. We're working the same skills, but at a deeper level. So, if I look at the gap and compare it to the amount of, spaces they've given me, the gap here is 20, right, from 0 to 20. The spaces, be careful, because some people count tick marks and that goofs us up. The spaces, there are 1, 2 spaces, 20 divided by 2. Okay, that one's easy, right? Each space there is 10. So then 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, it works. But then we get more complex. Here, my gap is 32.4, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces. That comes out to be kind of weird. 32 divided by 4 is 8. 0.4 divided by 4 is 0.1. So 8.1, 16.2. So D, right? Because C is actually a little bit easier than B. D, I have a span of 10. And I have 3 spaces that it's broken up. Sorry, my screen stops there for some reason. 10 divided by 3 is gross. So don't do the division. Put it as the fraction. Put it as the rational number. If I make this one 10 thirds, how many thirds need to be here? Well, yeah, 2 times as many, right? 20 thirds. And then 10 is actually 30 thirds, because does 30 divided by 3 make 10? Yeah. Remember when I've said before that fractions are better? Now, the homework help may direct you a different direction. This doesn't mean this is the only way to do it. If you went to the homework help, I believe it might have talked about use the decimals. So this would have become 3.33 repeating, 6.66 repeating. But then this is not 9.99 repeating unless you accept that 9.99 repeating is 10, which an argument can be made for that. Because the only reason it's not 10 is a decimal place that we can't get to. So that's like a long time argument.
It's the closest thing you can get to 10.
It is the closest thing that you could ever get to 10. All right. Anything else? Or else we got to dive into a lesson. Anything else? Going once. Yeah, Kevin. So this is last night's homework, guys. So if you haven't gotten that done, if you haven't turned it in yet, the sevenths. Now it says rewrite the following fractions and decimals, decide if the terminator repeating. Does it tell us how to get there? No. Does it have a no calculator symbol? No. So unless it has a no calculator symbol, you're allowed to use a calculator. Now I don't really encourage calculators, but I'm fine with them. I have nothing against calculators. I just like mental math when we can do it because it makes us stronger. So if we grab the calculator for this one, now I know 4/7 is over half, right? Half of 7 would be 3.5. When I get one of these calculators, I can only trust it so much. Now this is where some people are having issues, is you trust the calculator like it's your mom. This is not reliable. Well, okay, if you don't trust your mom, that's great. But I trust my mom, right? 100%. Whatever my mom says, I'm going to trust it. You cannot trust this calculator like that. The last number might be a lie. Which by that I really mean it's been rounded. But the calculator says 0.5714285. 571, but then it stops. Now here, the last number is actually true. But what's weird about the sevenths, and we talked about these in class a little bit, and I think we'll talk more here in chapter 2. What you have to recognize, even if you use the calculator, is this set is what's repeating, and it starts, but then my calculator doesn't show me the rest of it. So if I kept going off the calculator screen, it would be another 428, and then it starts over again. 517, 42. Like, all of the sevenths repeats, but they repeat like funky big batches of numbers. Does that help, Kevin?
Yes, that helps a lot.
Now be careful though, other repeating, like if you type in 2 divided by 3, and a lot of you have already figured this out. Now, 2 divided by 3 is 0.66667, and the 7's not true. So be careful. It's not the devil, it's just not true. Anything else? I got 20 minutes left. I really need to get to the lesson, probably. All right, if you have more homework questions, please come see me. But, I mean, that's always the policy, is please come see me if you have homework issues. We'll put this up top. Remind you of the homework, just in case you need to see that one more time. Oh. Actually, we might skip this one. Man. I don't know if we have time for any of these activities, really. I'm going to have to modify what we're doing.
Mr. Hudson,
Yeah.
you like teaching math.
Oh, I love it.
Like literally.
Yeah.
Why?
Ava, I don't lie to you guys.
Well, why do you like teaching math?
Why what?
Why do you like teaching math? You asked so many questions.
Math is
Including
bad.
I love the question. Can I trade you 6? I really need the one that goes down a little bit. Or really, I need the one that doesn't go down. And you need to be lower. Alright, here's what's up. We can go fast through today's lesson because it's the same skills we've been working, but we're going to skip over some of these activities and see like what we have time for. And we'll come back to these. I'll find times to implement them in. I didn't know we're talking about homework was going to take that long, which is fine. We can always take however long we need to talk about the homework. I just then have to modify things. I need you this way. If you're going to be on a spinny chair, you got to face this way. If you are turned around twice, you're switching chairs. Okay? I'll just make it real easy. Numbers. So, in this activity, which we may do really quickly at the end of class, which is why I want to tell you about it now, we have positive and negative, what they call tiles, but I disagree with the name tiles being used. We have positive and negative, what I kind of call counters, and I have bags of these for your groups. And you would reach into the bag and just not think, but you would pull out a group of positive and negative counters. So then, you put them down, and you have to decide who has more, right? Does the positive have more, or does the negative have more? But you guys have been doing such good work with this. Yes, there are pluses.
Are they candy?
And no, they're just little rubber things.
Oh.
So actually, if you want to know what these are, somebody at CPM realized that these spacers you use when tiling, you put these in between tiles when you're making tile work, and then you pull them out at the end. That's what these are. And if I cut the top and bottom off, ooh, it becomes a minus. So somebody during a tile job decided, oh, look, I have pluses and minuses. So we would then just sort all the pluses together, all the minuses together, and just like our superhero battles, we would just decide who has more based off, you match up. If I have 7 positives and 9 negatives, who wins?
Positive. Oh, no, negative.
The negative by how much?
9.
By 2, right? Because the difference.
Oh, yeah, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah. So Ava, what you were thinking was he won because the 9.
Yeah.
But then he was 2 more powerful. So we might come back to that. And if we have time to get Chromebooks, I'll probably give you the option of do it physically or do it on a Chromebook. But right now, we're going to go ahead and skip down to 58. So if you can go ahead and on your paper, you should have a header. And if you don't, I will write one down here. We are in 223. Guys, I still have a lot of just random noises for no reason. Now remember, integers, hung up there. Integers are allowed to be positive or negative. integers are entire, right? No partials, no fractions, no decimals. We're making your life easy. So I want you and your team. Now, I debate on how like serious to get. I have some people that are still like really resisting just doing what you need to do, right? So like you have a job, you are a student, but some of you are still like, I'm gonna not write anything down unless he's walking around looking at stuff. Otherwise, I'm gonna see if I can get by with doing nothing. That's really a bad idea, and I'm not always going to correct that behavior, because if that's a choice that you're making, I'm going to let you make that choice and experience the other end of it when it's uncomfortable for you because you made that choice. So please just play along with us. I'm not asking you to do a whole lot. I'm asking you to do a little. Write down the expressions. Like, just start by writing all of them down. Then we'll talk with our groups to figure out what are the values, but do not start combining them. Just write down the expressions as they have them. And if you want to leave space between them, leave a little bit of space. If you want to put them just line after line, I would leave space either below them or out to the side. If you're going to work vertically, leave space below each one. If you're going to work out to the right, leave space to the right of them. Now, because of how the page is, I'm going to work to the right.
To keep myself awake.
I'll do it.
My legs are too sore. I had horseback riding last night till like 9 o'clock.
All right, we're just writing down these expressions. Writing down these expressions. You know all the announcements that happen in the afternoon? Sometimes in the 3D class, I just stop and start doing push-ups. I'm so tired of hearing announcements. It's a waste of time right next to me. I'm just staring at you guys.
Easy.
You like it?
So you just drop down there and do push-ups?
Well, the announcements.
I've seen it happen.
You should do that.
You have them all written down. You can start solving them.
Oh, me too.
Once you have them all written down, start trying to solve who would win this battle. For example, now, I don't know what all movies you guys watch or whatever else, but there was this movie one time when, like, every time you, actually, this kind of happened in Pixels, every time you hit this creature, if you didn't hit it in just the right place, it would split into multiple creatures. Some Pixels where they're shooting the worms that are coming out. So yeah, and I think there's a case in Wreck-It Ralph where that happens. So, like we've been doing, merging the teammates together, we can actually kind of take the bad guys and or the good guys and break them apart to have little individual battles. So if I'm on the bad guy team, and let's say Joey and I are bad guys today, and Isaac's a good guy, so we show up to the battle, right? Joey and I together are a -8. But let's say I look at Isaac, and I see he's only a +2. I don't really want to be involved in this battle because, you know, my back hurts, I'm getting old. So I send Joey off to fight Isaac, but I give Joey just enough to make sure that he gets rid of Isaac. How much does Joey need to get rid of the +2? A -2. That's if all I want you to do is get rid of Isaac. Now you might disappear at the same time, but you'll like regenerate somewhere else.
You are 26.
So if 26, thanks, man. So I could actually make this -8. Now, guys, it all depends on how you think about this in your head. Sorry, in my head I'm getting confused. I could make it -6 and -2, which is what we're going to get used to drawing. This, if you want to draw the visual. Now, last year I really pushed these, and after talking with some kids, they're like, those really weren't useful. It just kind of wasted my time. This would represent that, right? 8 negatives, 2 positives, but I split, right? 2 of my negatives need to go and take care of the 2 positive. And I'm left with just my 6 negative, and my answer, of course, becomes -6. So, whatever strategy you take, I'll explain it again for you. Whatever strategy you take, start working through that with your team. I'll give you like 3 or 4 minutes, trying to make sure you guys all agree on your answers.
What?
So, Ava, what I did I should hear you working with your teams, or I should hear nothing. -8 plus 2, they're going to fight each other, right? They don't. I think it's a little dark in the back room, so bear with me. It's just a little dark back there. Hey, you can have these conversations quietly. I got to talk with Ava for a moment. To get rid of the +2s, all I need is a -2, right? I have a lot more than that. So I can think in my head, oh, 2 of my negatives get taken up by the 2 positives, and therefore, what do I have left? Oh, just my 6 negatives, because 2 of them disappeared. So instead of thinking of it as like adding 2, I kind of visualize it as like take 2 of my negatives away to counteract the positive, and what do I have left? Yeah, but negatives, right? 6 negatives. Now, in a situation like B, they're teammates. They're both on the bad team. So they're just going to merge up together and combine their powers. Plus a -3. If we have evil 5 and evil 3, they're on the same team. They're not fighting against each other. They're merging. Yeah, I got it true. Can I ask you for second period? I got it. Yeah.
Oh boy. Yes. Think about it. Yes. Because you add to negative.
So, right. Sorry.
-3 and like -3 and like 2.
Should we get out tiles? I'm gonna get a bag for each group. It'll be your option. Hey, why are you yelling? Do I ever force you to do anything?
Yes.
Okay, if you think that, you can walk out right now. I'm not gonna stop you. And quit yelling. No, I don't know. Hey, please try to not drop these on the floor. Please try to not drop these on the floor.
And then 8 to 0. Yeah, I've been there.
Our brains all work differently. We're going to get this conceptual. All right, give me your attention up on the chalkboard, please. Or chalkboard, up on the smartboard. That's cute, chalkboard. Hang on. So, get out some tiles. Yo, people! I need some of your attention, like most of it, please. And even if I don't have your attention, please, like, just make your mouth close. So I'm gonna make a region on my desk where, like, so I've got these tiles over here, but that's just my pile, right? I'm looking here. If I were to set up I have 8 negative tiles. It doesn't matter how I arrange them, but I need to make sure that I have 8. So everyone, like, not each person needs to do this, but somebody at your group, go ahead and pull 8 negative tiles, like, onto your book, or onto a notebook, or your binders are in the back there if you wanted to grab the group binders. Then, in comes 2 positives. And Ava, this will probably help you too. In comes 2 positives. Now, every time I have opposites, they make 0. So these guys make 0, this positive negative. And these guys make 0, that positive negative. Leaving me with just these negatives. So what do I have?
You have 6 negatives.
-6, because these are zeros. These still exist, but they're zeros, because they grouped up. Were you one of the people who said no when I... Okay. I won't even go. B...
No, I was.
B says we start with 5 negatives. So some of you, guys, shh, I get this. Some of you right now are like, this isn't helpful for me at all. I understand this concept already. If so, great, you're doing awesome. But for some people, this really helps with the conceptual jump of what we're doing with positives, negatives canceling each other out. So I start with 5 negatives. Then in walks 3 more negatives. Do any of them cancel out? No. So what do I have all together? I can regroup it, make it a little nicer to look at. I have 8 negatives. We started with 5 negatives, right? We're doing B. In walks 3 more negatives. So none of them fight with each other. None of them cancel out. We end up with just 8 negatives. If I were to set up C, we start with 2 positives. In walks 4 negatives. Sorry, I need to turn this one light off because it's making a really bad glare. I know I just turned it on, but the glare's killing me. Now, I know sometimes they look like X's, but if you make your brain just like decide these are pluses. So, do any of these cancel out?
Yes.
Yeah, 2 groups make 0.
Yeah.
What are we left with?
2 negatives.
2 negatives. If we look at D, I have 7 negatives to start. Guys, I'm going quick, I know that, and if you're off task, like that's the choice that you're making, but I don't have enough time to keep fighting with that. I start with 7 negatives. In walks 7 more negatives. Do any of them fight with each other?
No.
No. Actually, they all like hang out and have a great dance party. How much is here? Negative 14.
Negative 14. I said that.
If I start with negative 4 and in walks 3 positives, like in E, do any of them fight?
Yes.
Yeah, how many groups of zeros?
3.
3. That makes 0, that makes 0, and that makes 0. What do I have left?
1 negative.
1 negative. If we look at F, we have 3 different groups.
Yep.
We have the Sharks and the Jets and the who knows. So we have 4 negatives, 8 positives, and then 2 more negatives show up. Somebody tell me what to do. Ava.
Okay, so first you have to group them together, so like the negatives, so like you already have like, you know.
I mean, talk me through. So I'm making those 0 groups,
Yeah.
right? The people that like disagree and they cancel out make 0.
So then you have to see what you have left, so you have 2 positives, right?
That's our answer. Any questions on how this is working? Now, I want to show you one more thing while you gather up your tiles, because it's an optional activity that you guys can use to help you. It's like AO extensions, that sort of, if you have free time and you want to work these skills. In CPM, so give me your attention up here if you would. I'm going to shrink back a little bit. In this lesson, right, 223 today, I encourage you, if you know that you're weak with adding positives and negatives, that's okay, but do something to get better. So if we scroll down here to 57, we might play this tomorrow. We'll see how much time we have. Scoring. When all the boxes on the table have been filled in, calculate the sum of each row and the sum of each column. Every positive result means a point for player 1. Every negative result means a point for player 2. So if you grab a Chromebook, player 1 is your positives, player 2 is your negatives. So you can flip a coin or something to decide who goes first. So I'm going to claim like positive here. Then player 2 might say, well, I'm going to counteract your positive 5 on this row. But then I still have this column. It's like, well, ha ha ha, I'm going to like drop a positive 2 there in this column. And they're like, oh crap, I need to counteract your positive 7 and try to make it negative. And they put a negative 8. What happens if I put a 1 here? We tie. If I put a 1 here, we're going to tie, right? And no one likes to tie. As Nickelodeon used to say, that's like kissing your sister. So if I put a 3 here, hold on, would positive win now? Yes. It was on this old camp show where they're like, oh, you don't want to tie, that's like kissing your sister.
Yeah.
It was like back in the 90s, no joke. Brendan, what's up? So, the rows versus the columns. So let's say we play like an entire game real quick, and I don't know, the placements are randomized.
Mr. like this game, Mr. Hudson?
Oh, it's good. If you guys, so the biggest thing, if you decide that math is not your enemy, and like, because none of us are like amazing at math just like for no reason. If you decide that like whatever I recognize I'm weak at, I can grow, all you have to do is put effort into that growth. This is a fun way to, with a friend, practice your addition of positives and negatives. So if I go to score the rows, the across, right? Columns stand up vertically, columns hold buildings, rows go across. These guys cancel and make 0. Easy. Then what happens with the -1, +4?
They take it away.
We take away 1 from the 4 and we end up with a +3. Player 1 gets a point there because it's positive. When we look at this row, well, none of them are opposites. So if I group these together, I have 3 positives. And how many negatives? 3 plus a -10. What's my result? -7. Player 2 gets a point. I come here. Well, none of them are opposites right off the bat. How much positive do I have? 13. How much negative do I have? 11. Who wins? Positive by 2. Player 1 gets a point. Here, any direct opposites? No. How many positives? 11. How many negatives? 9. Who wins? Ooh, player 1's winning right now. But then we would score the rows. Do you want to score the rows? We have like 30 seconds. Okay. How much positive? 10. Negative?
18. Sorry.
So we get a 2. Oh, player 1 wins again. How much positive?
8.
How much negative?
12.
12. Ooh, so we get a -4 here. Player 2 takes that one. Huh. So these cancel, right? They're additive inverses. So this is just -3. Ooh, now it's a game. These cancel. Oh, we get a +5. So player 1 would take this. Thank you guys very much. Hey, if you play that game, like, hey, hold up, give me your attention real quick. If you and a friend are playing this game and you're actually writing out the math, come see me, I'll give you candy. Yeah, no joke.
I'm playing this game.
Now, you gotta be mastered, though. Like, this can't be like I'm avoiding my social studies, sort of, like. Yeah, like, because I can't be giving you candy for not, like, revising the work you need to revise.
I just finished my math.
It said the word candy.
Yeah, candy triggers everyone. Yeah, everyone wants candy. I didn't get to finish my math.
Yeah, I mean, you're probably going to need to jot, like, you can't do it all in your head. And like this, I can give you printouts for this, but that's actually harder than playing on the computer. So once you would have this, like, for the rows, I would maybe write out, like, -6 + 9 equals whatever. Like, I would just write out the expressions I'm solving.